Hello and welcome. Thank you all for joining us today on this Tuesday afternoon. We're very excited to have our guest today, Daryl Turner, the renowned title sales coach. Number one, he
Wow.
corrected me, sorry. For anyways, but so I'm Lindsay. I am the director of communications at Proplogix, and I am joined by my colleague Pete Bram, and he is going to be kicking this off for us today. A couple of quick housekeeping items. We have some prepared questions that Pete is going to be asking Daryl, and then at any point you might have a question. We'll save some time towards the end. You can just head on over to the little question section and I'll be monitoring those. We also have a chat section that will be dropping helpful links and potentially a promo code to save you a little bit of money if you're interested in furthering your sales education. But that's all I have. I'm going to go ahead and let Pete go ahead and take it away.
Good afternoon, everybody. It's such a pleasure to be here with Daryl Turner today. Just a little bit of my background. I worked for one of the big national underwriters as an agency rep, and I met Daryl back in the early 2000s. My state manager at the time was wise enough to enable us to utilize Daryl's expertise and experience and coaching skills to help our clients, our corporate title agencies, as well as our real estate law firms, to really look at how they were building their business and what they needed to focus on. So fast forward to 2022, our paths cross again, and Daryl has worked with Proplogix in the past. So we set this up because everybody knows the market is going through a little recalibration. So why do we need some coaching? Well, for that very reason. So I'm going to let Daryl introduce himself and talk about what his real tremendous expertise is, and then we'll get into the questions. Over to you,
Right
Daryl.
on. Well, thank you, Pete. And I'm the Daryl they talk about and the Lindsay made fun of in the beginning. And that Pete and I worked together. I thought it was in the 90s, Pete, when we were in high school. That's what I was thinking. It was way back in the 90s. Actually, you were in high school in the 90s. I was out. But I'm excited to be here today. Thanks for the cordial introduction. Many of you may know who I am or a little bit about me, but I'll just share with you. I started an organization in 1994, specifically designed to help title companies improve their business development efforts. Back then they called it marketing, right? But the reality is it's sales. Marketing gets people to know you, sales gets people to do business with you. So we focus on sales. Marketing is a lubricant to that sales process. And over the years, Pete, we've had the opportunity to work with just shy of 1,200 title companies around the nation. Yes, we've coached a little over 11,000 people. 6,600 of them have been salespeople. The rest have been owners, managers, closers. We coach a lot of closers, all on how to build their book of business and expand their reach from behind their desk. Salespeople, of course, used to be on the outside. Now they're on the inside. So that's really our specialty. And I'm excited, Pete, to share some things with the audience today that are going to be very, very timely based on what everybody is going through. So I say you just hop right into the questions, man. Let's feed the pipeline for these folks.
Well, I appreciate that. You know, I'm out in the field calling on corporate title agencies and real estate law firms every week. And as the market has recalibrated, people talk about their order counts being down. So let me ask you a question, Daryl. Why is it more important to focus on your customer base versus your order counts?
I love that question. I love that question. It's order count is what people look at, right? But there are basically in our business, there are leading indicators, and then there are trailing or what we might call lagging indicators. And the amount of business that an agency has today, Pete, there is a result of only two things. Number one, the market that we're sitting in. Number two, the number of customers they have. And you might kind of flip that and put it in perspective. Your volume is a result of the number of active customers that you have in this market condition. And since we can't change the market condition, the only thing we can really focus on is the size of our customer base. And look at it this way. You know, a lot of people focus heavily on retention, customer retention in the title business. And don't get me wrong, it's critically important. If you go out and generate 2 new customers and lose 2 existing customers out the back door, you've done nothing but make a bunch of noise, right? So look at it this way. If your business is ever down, like right now, you're watching this webinar right now, your orders may be down, your business may be down. You have to really look at it like if your business or when your business is down, It's strictly because your customer's business is down. And if you were to keep 100% of all your customers and keep them all happy, totally happy, not losing any of them, and they're all happy, at the end of the day, your business would still be down, okay? Because their business is down. So the answer really is not to focus on or panic or overemphasize the quantity of orders that someone has today. What really needs to happen is you really need to look at how many customers that you have today. And I think so focusing on growing your active customer base is number one, because that's a leading indicator. If you can get more customers, then you know you're doing some things right. But revenue and order count, lagging indicators, result of the market and the number of customers that you have. So hopefully that answers a question for the group today. Everybody's looking at orders. I get it. They're down in most cases across the board. But that's not the focal point. The focal point is how many customers do you have? And how do you add additional customers to your roster? That's going to be the saving grace for the agencies that are watching today, Pete.
Well, I appreciate that. And you taught me something years ago, and that was this. You can be the best closing agent in your territory. You can have 100% loyalty from your realtor clients, from your lender clients, but you can still lose business. Please unpack that just a little bit.
Well, you're gonna lose business. You can do everything perfectly, and you're gonna have some of your customers move out of the area. You're gonna have some of your customers get out of the business. You know, there's gonna be real estate professionals. For those of you that deal, you know, on the real estate agent side of the business, there's gonna be real estate agents that get out of the business. You know, everybody wanted to get in the business, Pete, when manna was falling from heaven, right? And now that we have to hunt. There's going to be a lot of agents that are going to step out that did business last year, that maybe they didn't do as much as top producers, but there's going to be a stream of people leaving the industry over the next 18 to 24 months that maybe people are not thinking about. So you lose business because you lose customers because they move out of the area, they get out of the business. You know, heaven forbid, some are going to pass away. These things happen, right? So in fact, I'm gonna give you a statistic that I think that you probably remember, but within the title industry, you know, our evidence from all our research shows that the attrition rate, the customer attrition rate in a normal year, which is going to be a little higher in the next 18 to 24 months, but it ranges between 10 and 15%. What that means is that for every 100 customers that a title company has, a year from now, 10 to 15 of them would be gone. Okay. And now again, I think it's going to be a little bit higher than that over the next 18 to 24 months, because I think we're going to have agents in the business that they're not going to want to work that hard, Pete. This is a different market. The opportunities are there. They didn't get in this to work. They got in this to harvest, right? And I think we're gonna lose some of that. So I just, you know, it's between 10 and 15 normally. I just use 12.5, and I just say 12.5% of your customer base is going to exit in a year. So you have to be at least replacing that customer base just to maintain the same size customer base.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. That was a great explanation of how that attrition can work against you when you're doing everything right. So to piggyback on that, how do I identify my customer base, and what would be a good target to aim at to grow that customer base?
Well, I think, and this might be getting a little ahead of myself with the answer I'm about to give you on this question, but when a company sets goals, let's just talk about goals for a minute. And again, I might be just a little bit out of order, but I think it's really relevant to your question, because this is a question right here that's on the screen that most people never ask themselves. I mean, you could ask 100 agency owners right now how many active customers they have, and I should be real careful how I say this. I don't think any of them can answer that. Now, again, I want to say none of them would be able to, but there's probably one on here watching right now that would send me a nasty email later, like, I knew the answer to that. So, but for the most part, they don't know. How many active customers do you have? I don't know. So if you're going to set goals, and if it's around the size of the customer base, what you really have to focus on is first identifying the size of your customer base. So how do I identify how big of a customer base I have? It's a good target to aim for. Well, I'm going to tell you that you know, you want to be around, let's just use the number 10. Now, this number is very random what I'm saying to you, okay? Because some companies are at 7 and 8, some are at 14, but look at a range of like 10 orders per employee per month. Let's just pick that number, okay? Again, people watching this might be a little higher, might be a little lower. Just use 10. And if you need 10 per employee, how many employees do you have? And that'll tell you how many orders you need, right? So if an agency has 7 employees, let's just say at 10 they need 70 orders. And if the average customer sends 2 deals a month, you need 35 active customers in order to do that. This is stuff most people don't go through, right? Because they're looking at only orders. And then they say, well, now I'm to your question. How do I identify like how many customers I actually have? It's pretty easy. Go back to the last 90 days and look at what we call unique sources of business, or USBs. A USB is an individual that has sent your agency business intentionally. Okay, they're not on the other side of the deal. They actually open the transaction with you. And in that, you're going to have people that do all their business with you. You're going to have people that do some of their business with you. You're going to have the one-offs. But if you go back and you just look at the number of unique sources of business, and let's just narrow it down to one classification, a real estate agent. Maybe you're looking at just the real estate agent side of your business, or you're in North Carolina and maybe you're not, right? But whatever your primary customer base is made up with, go back 90 days and count how many of those individuals sent you business. So for example, if you have an agent that sent you 12 deals over the last 3 months, they count as 1. If you have an agent that sent you 3 deals over the last 3 months, they count as 1. They're one unique source of business. Now, what we typically do is break that into 3 categories, but that might be a little bit deep for today, but let me just give you the 30,000 foot view, okay? You don't look at it as an 80-20, the Pareto principle, 80% of the business done by 20% of your customers. Look at it as a 20-60-20 principle. And I don't know if you remember us talking about this years ago, Pete, but basically take the 80% and divide it into 2 categories. Top 20% of your customers, bottom 20% of your customers, middle 60% of your customers. And as you set goals to acquire additional unique sources of business in each of those categories. Based on 20% of your new customers need to be top, 20% can be near, regular onesie twosie people, but 60% need to fit that mainframe design of a customer, kind of that main customer. But when you go back and you count them, and people say, gosh, Daryl, this is too simple. We can elaborate on this point all day long, but start by just going back 90 days and counting how many individual unique sources of business or customers or people, however you want to look at it, sent your agency business, and that's your starting point. That's the size of your customer base. And if you take a look at the size of your customer base, and then you look at how many orders your operation does monthly, what you can easily determine is how many orders you have, what the average size customer is that you have, right?
Sure.
And then you go back to the 10 orders per person, and now you know how many more of those you're going to need if you're short of 10 orders per person, right? So don't look at, if you need 70 orders and you have 60, don't look at it as needing 10 more orders. Look at it as needing 3 more customers, because the orders go up and down based on the market, and that is, again, a lagging indicator. Go with a leading indicator and set your goals based around the number of customers that you need to add to your business, and not just the number of orders that you need to increase to get up to a certain point. Now, I might have answered more than one question in that answer, but they really go together.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I appreciate that. That was terrific. That opened my eyes. So that being the case, what are some successful strategies for getting new clients? If new client acquisition is really the name of the game, help us with that.
Gosh, Pete, I don't know. So let's look at, in the pursuit of customers, let's look at 2 paths, okay? In fact, I'm going to name them. Easier, there is no easy. Easier and difficult.
Okay.
Okay. Easier and difficult. Let's talk about difficult. If you decide you're going to pursue a bunch of people that don't do business with your company because the opportunity's there and they're doing business, it's possible, but that's the difficult path. A lot of cold calling, a lot of what I call ice calls, which I joke around about that. An ice call is like the coldest form of a cold call. And let's face it, let's talk about what the title insurance industry is not, okay? Or or how most people do not view it. They do not view it as a sales industry. They view it as a technical industry. So you start talking about pursuing customers in a cold fashion, and we've just lost 80% of the viewers today because they're not going to do it. They're not going to get on the phone and start calling people that don't do business with them. But so let's look at the easier way. Okay, the easier way is more of a warm contact situation. And let me just put it to you this way. If I'm going to ask the group a question, and if 2/3, this is for you audience, if 2/3 of all your customers plan to leave you, let's even narrow it down simpler. If half your customers plan to leave you as soon as they could, what would you do? Now, I want to ponder that question for a minute, Pete, because people are thinking, well, if half my customers plan to leave me, I'd probably have to close my doors. Now, you're looking at it in a traditional one-dimensional fashion. You have to first back up and you have to ask yourself, what is the definition of a customer? Like let's say, and I'm gonna use Walmart for example, and I'm probably gonna get in trouble from Lindsay. I'm gonna get a nasty email. Don't use Walmart's name, corporate name, on my webinars. But let's say you don't like going to Walmart, Pete. I'm gonna guess there's at least 3 people watching of all the hundreds that are watching today that would prefer not to shop at Walmart. But let's say you had to go to Walmart because they're the only ones that had what you needed. And so you're on your drive over to Walmart, you're dreading it. The whole thing is, I don't want to go. And you're only picturing the bad aspects of it. And you finally get there, you can't find a parking place. When you do, there's a shopping cart in it, or somebody's walking in front of your car as you're driving through the parking lot. We've all seen it, right? They're wearing their, let's just say, Walmart pants, a pajama bottom, whatever. I'm in all kinds of trouble with Lindsay right now, but this is real stuff, right? And we go into Walmart, we don't know our way around. Here she comes, she's back on, she's gonna cut me off. She has the power to mute me, by the way, everybody. So far, I haven't gone too far over the Lindsay line. But you know, not wanting to go there does not mean you were not a customer, does it?
Right.
Writing it does not mean you're not a customer. Having a bad experience does not mean you're not a customer. The fact that you're doing business together means you're a customer. So now you got to look at your files, and you have to look at both sides of the file. And let's just omit the lenders temporarily. Okay, because normally we'd presume for refi business, but negative on that right now. Okay, so but you look at both sides of the file, and when I say half your customers plan to leave you, most people watching right now only imagine the people that directed the business, and half of those people. Wrong.
You're right. You're right.
Half of your customers mean the other half don't plan to come back. They plan to leave you as soon as the file closes. So the key is to create an experience for the other side of the transaction that would cause them to want to come back to you. Let me give you a few simple tips. How about thanking them for the business in the beginning? You could literally just call them up and say, thanks for the business. Now, don't say thanks for the escrow, the closing. They didn't send it. Don't say thanks for your business. They didn't give you their business in their eyes. But are y'all doing business together? Yes. Hey, thanks for the business. Ask them a few questions about their preferences. Give them a couple positive updates during the course of the file. When the file closes, ask them how you did and ask them if it's good enough to come back on one of their next 3 transactions. If an agency just did that on every single file, now let's just do the math, okay? Out of 100 files, and I'm only using that because I'm better at the metric system than, you know, by tens, it's easy to divide or whatever. That means let's just say that there's 50 people on the other side that came through. And half of them you don't want, okay? They don't do good business, or maybe they are the one hit wonder for the year. So let's say you got 25, okay? 25 per month coming through the backside. And let's just say that you tried really hard to fail, right? Tried really hard to fail, and you were able to fail 90% of the time. Now, at a 25 agent pipeline of people on the other side of the deal, with a 90% recapture fail rate, you've generated 2.5 new customers a month. That's 30 customers a year. And if they each give you 10 deals, you've increased your order base by 300 deals a year for every month that you stay on the plan. I'm sorry, for each, not for every month, but by staying on the plan, you're growing at a rate of 300 orders a year. And that's at a 90% fail rate, 80% fail rate, 600 transactions. At an 80% fail rate, that's 60 accounts. Now back to the number of customers. So you asked, like, ways to grow your business, man, let's just look at it this way. Never take the difficult path until you've mastered the easier path. Okay. And I know that there's people watching right now that like, he went through that really fast. What did he say? Two things I'm going to tell you. Number one, if you want more information about how to implement some of these strategies, get with your Proplogix account manager, like Pete, for example. Get with your Pete. If you work with Pete, then get with Pete. Okay. But if you work with someone else in the organization, reach out to them for more help in this area. And I'm going to throw this out there. If you have questions for me when this is over, we didn't set this up, but I'm going to give you an email address real quick. It's just info, the word info, at darrylturner.com, DARRYLTURNER.com, info@darrylturner.com. If you have questions that come up after, because I know we're going to answer questions at the end of this. You may have a thought in an hour, 2 hours, tonight. You may wake up in the middle of the night thinking about something. Just email that question. I'll be happy to help you anywhere I can, because as simple as it can be, the industry still chooses some of the most difficult paths. Well, like, for example, now I'm not going to criticize anybody's plan, because I think it's a good idea to call new listings. I do. Okay. As long as you're not letting any of the people on the other side of the deal slip away first, then you put your energy into that. But instead of doing some of the things we're talking about, a lot of people reach out and they're like trying to call every new listing and trying to get that. That is definitely on the more difficult side. And again, I'm not saying don't do it. I'm just saying don't do it first. Master the capture rate inside your file and stop the half of your customers that are planning to leave. Stop them from leaving and just close the door behind them. Nobody left behind in this deal. Just focus on that. How's that for an answer, Pete? Was that good enough for you?
That is such a powerful strategy to go after that quote unquote low-hanging fruit. Those non-directing realtors on the other side of the transaction, they are forced to have an experience with your closing operation. And because of that experience, you can piggyback on that. I love that, Daryl. Thank you so much. That is powerful.
Can I ask you a rhetorical question here, Pete? Now, maybe the whole audience. So it's rhetorical, so it's not really for you. It's just to think about. But what would happen, agency owners and closers and salespeople that are watching right now, what would happen if you actually treated all participants in your transactions as if you actually wanted them to come back? Now, you got to underline the word actually treated all participants as if you actually wanted them to come back. Because here's the deal. You'll create an experience in every transaction, right? Whether you plan to or not, there's an experience created. And I'm going to give you the sad news of the title industry. 99% of the time, if not higher, the experience isn't good enough to cause the person on the other side to want to come back. If it was, they'd all be coming back. So you really have to think about that. And you could also go to any closer that you have in your operation and ask them to talk about 5 legacy customers that have really been good for them over the years. And they can easily come up with 5 people that have stayed with them, and then ask them how they got them. And Pete, what's amazing is about 80% of the time, they came in on the backside of a deal and stayed. So the principle's there. It's just capitalizing on the facts and the principles that are present already. How do we package that and make that part of our daily routine? And again, I can help anybody that wants to reach out to us directly with more information. I know your team can too.
I appreciate that. So if our closing agents are focusing on acquiring new customers, what should they be doing to retain their existing client base? Is it somewhat similar?
Yeah, it's very similar. In fact, you have to keep in mind on a purchase transaction, let's just go with a purchase transaction with 2 realtors, okay? Those 2 agents are going to talk to each other way more often than they're going to talk to you. Fact. They're going to talk to each other way more often than they're going to talk to the title agency, okay? And the last thing you want your really good directing source of business to hear from the non-directing source of business that you're pursuing is that, hey, your title company called me and thanked me for that deal, when we didn't call the directing source of business. So number one, start thanking your directing clients intentionally. Thank them on every order. Don't let your automated email be the only thank you they get when they open an order. Pick up the phone and call them. Hey, thanks for the business. We really appreciate you. It'll go way farther than most people think. But here's the other thing. We refer to this as out-of-file communication. Now, this is a nugget for the viewers today, okay? Out-of-file communication is very simple. Have each closer make a list of 20 customers. 20 customers, okay? You can make it bigger than that, but not much, but 20 is a good number to start with. And once I share the principle with everybody, they'll get it and make whatever size list works best for you. And then have your closers each day look at the next person on the list, not the whole list, just start with number one and ask yourself this question: are they in a deal right now? Because if you ask the closers how often do you talk to your customers, they say, gosh, Daryl, all the time. Here's my next question: how often do you talk to them when they're not in a deal with you? Leave that up to our marketers, leave that up to some. Let me tell you who you're leaving it up to. The salespeople for your competitor are talking to your customers when they're not in a deal with you, right? So out of file communication says, I look at line number one, Joe Smith. Is Joe in a deal with us? He is. Okay, so I'm already talking to Joe. I've already thanked him. Go to number two, Susie Smith. Ooh, she's not in a deal. Hey, Susie, Daryl at ABC Title. Listen, I just wanted to call and check on you, see how you're doing. How are things going? We miss you. We appreciate you. Out of file communication in the call with this. Hey, before I let you go, Susie, let me ask you, what are you working on right now that I might be able to help you with? If every day we call one person on the list that's the next one down that's not in a transaction, and we have 20, we will work our way through the list more often than once a month. And those are our top 20 customers. So really, if you think about it, Pete, pursuing the person on the other side, the warm contact, thanking and staying with the person that directed it, and communicating with the people who normally direct business to us when they're not directing business to us. And by the way, people want to get all creative in their iPhone and their computer. No, take out a piece of paper and write down 20 customer names, and take the paper and put it in your drawer. Take it out each day and look at it. Who's next on the list? Put a check mark, whatever you need to do. Don't overcomplicate this, people. Don't overcomplicate it. Keep it simple, kill a tree. Get a piece of paper.
I love it. I love it. Thank you for sharing that. That's really a spectacular strategy. Out of file communication. I know we're running a little short on time. Let's get to this last question because I think it's important. A lot of our clients have salespeople, but some of them don't. So the question is, should I be cross-training my closing staff to focus on increasing our customer base? Now you touched on that a little bit with the out of file communication, but is there something that's, as far as cross-training, should be taking place to help them be part of that sales team, really?
Yeah, what a really, really good question, because I know there's more agencies out there across America, Pete, that do not have salespeople than those that do. So let's talk directly to that question. Here's a good question to ask a closer. And if you're a closer watching this right now, let me ask you this question. Do you have the ability as a closer to do something or say something that would cause a customer to leave? And of course, Pete, we know the answer is yes, right? So if you're in a position that you can run off a customer, then you're also in an influential position to keep them. In other words, your behaviors, actions, and how you speak to them and how you interact with them helps them determine whether they stay or go. So let's look at the backside of the file. Same exact thing is present. So the interesting thing about your question is it goes back to what I was talking about a minute ago. The cool thing about following our sales process is it's all based around the principles of retention, because the title industry is so darn good at customer retention. If you have a sales model that's different than those principles, most people won't follow it. But you take a look at what I said a few minutes ago, going to the other side of the file. All you're doing is acts of service that drive retention. So I look at capturing the backside of the file as hyper retention. Think about it that way, right? You're wrapping your arms more deeply around your customer base once you fully realize who your customer base is or anybody in a transaction with you. So your inside staff, at a bare minimum, should be doing what I referred to a few minutes ago, really focusing on all parties in a transaction. In fact, I was in a meeting the other day, and I'm going to upset salespeople right now, but I was in a meeting the other day, and a salesperson came up to me. It was an escrow meeting, but there were salespeople there, and she said, "Who's more effective at retaining and selling our services, escrow or sales?" And for those of you that don't call it escrow, you're closers or settlement agents. Of course, all these people in the room, and I look right at the rep and I said, "Well, escrow." And the look on her face was like, like I slapped her mom. I mean, it's like, what? And I said, "You're the second best person to sell them." The best person to sell a person is the one doing it, interacting with the customers, because whether they realize it or not, they're selling themselves every time they have an interaction. So you
Yes.
take your inside staff and say, let's capitalize on creating an experience that would cause people to want to come back. Look at the restaurant example, and I'll end with this. If you go in a restaurant and you have a really bad experience, you're upset. There's your emotion. You're walking to the car, Pete, you say to your wife, well, I don't want to come back here again. There's your decision. Experience, emotion, decision. You can have a great experience in a restaurant. You're happy. You feel really good about it. And as you get in the car, you say to your wife, we definitely need to come back here again. Experience, emotion, decision. That's how we make decisions. Experiences create emotions, emotions create decisions. And by the way, a bad experience in a restaurant and a good experience in a restaurant rarely have anything to do with food. They might start with food. Something might go wrong or something might go really well, but the experience isn't based on the food. It's based on how they respond to what's going on and how they deal with us and how they make us feel. Okay, so the escrow world is exactly the same. The title world is exactly the same. Everybody has an experience with your company in a transaction, which will create an emotion, which is the root of a decision, and the favorable decision will be made in their mind, and it's up to us to ask them to make it in our favor and manifest that with a transaction that we wouldn't have already had. And there you go.
That was spectacular. So much shared. I need to review this. I'm going to go back through and look at the replay. Thank you, Daryl. That was spectacular. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you, Pete.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Daryl.
Lindsay.
We have some questions already starting to come in.
Oh,
But
now I'm
while I was going to say, so it's 1:30. We had originally planned, for about half an hour. So if you have to hop off, or if you want to stick around and get your question answered, we've got about 15 minutes more of Daryl's time and Pete's time as well. But before we get into those questions, I just want to make sure before anybody hops off, Daryl, you have a conference, a yearly conference where people can learn more about these sales strategies. We're offering a promo code to people here today. So if you want to talk about it just really quick, and then we'll get to your questions.
Yeah, October 26th, 27th, Reno, Nevada, the Atlantis Resort and Spa. We have our event called Title Sales Mastery. It's 2022. We've named it this year Elite Retreat for organizations to be able to take their teams to a retreat, specifically 2 days about how to build your customer base, from how to master social media to learning about what the market is going to be doing. Everybody wants to know, but the question, we shouldn't be asking about the market. We're going to tell you about it because it's part of equipping you. We should always be looking at what we need to be doing, and that's Title Sales Mastery 2022. Yes, there's a promo code, Proplogix. They're going to put a C note back in your pocket. They are great people.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
let me tell you how to get there, I guess. It's DarrylTurner.com. Yeah, click on Mastery, or just go to TitleSalesMastery2022.com. Sorry about that.
No worries. We just put a link in the chat, and we're also going to be sending out the replay for this so that you can go back and watch, like Pete will with his notes, furiously writing them, right? And we're going to also send links for the Title Sales Mastery and where you can sign up.
Let me just say this too. We have a lot of people already signed up. If any of you viewers right now have already signed up and you did not get this, reach out to us. We'll give you the same credit.
Oh, that's very generous.
Very generous. Thank you.
All right, let's hop into those questions. So Lindsay, not me, Lindsay, is asking, what if you're in a smaller market with not as many agents and lenders? What's the best way to figure out like how many files per employee per month? Oh, sorry. I guess that's a two-parter question.
Okay.
So if you're in a smaller market with not as many agents and lenders.
It really depends on I just randomly use a number 10, okay? It really depends on your average fee profile. If you're in a market, like you could be in a market where your average fee profile on a purchase transaction is $1,100. 10 is not going to work for you. You need 14, okay? If you're in a market that your average fee profile, and there's plenty of markets around the country, $5,000 on a purchase transaction is the average fee profile, okay? Then you can get, maybe 7. You're okay with. So you really have to take that into consideration. The reason I use 10 is it's literally right in the middle of that range. But you still have to, no matter the size of your market, you still want to follow the principles of the formulas to determine, how many orders per person you really should have. And you can really look at it like what your cost of operations are per month and what your anticipated gross margin of profitability is, and work backwards from there and figure out based on that revenue, how many transactions do you need, right? And where are you now, and what's your head count against that? And you can close the delta on that pretty easily once you know those numbers. And again, if this isn't a good enough answer, along with everybody, that's watching, info@darrylturner.com. We'll be happy to help.
What about offering sales training to realtors?
You should do everything with the intention of gaining business out of it. So the salespeople are predominantly, they're salespeople and they're not good ones. Ugh. Did he just say that out loud? Yeah, they didn't get into this business to be salespeople, but they have to be salespeople to be able to win. So yeah, if you want to hold a class on that, as long as you're not violating RESPA, and I'm not going to be the guy to tell you to do that. If you want to offer content, you're going to need to charge for it in most cases so that you don't violate RESPA. But to be able to do that, look, your value in the marketplace is solely determined by the size of the problems you solve for your customers, period. And the problem that all agents have right now is they don't know what to do, okay? And so if you can come along and help them with what to do, you're gonna be ahead of the curve. But do everything asking for business and setting the stage. Like, you ever do a meeting, do a CE class, ask the audience when you start, hey, why do you suppose we do these classes? And they'll say, well, because you want to get our business. Is that an unreasonable thought? Because you're right. Is that fair? Sure it is. Great. In the end, I'm going to ask you for an order and have your class, okay? But that's almost never what takes place. You're just like, thanks for coming. Hope you like it. Bagels in the back. Let's go. Content. See you later. And it's like, man, that was great because everybody said they liked it. No, it's only great if you can get $7 of revenue for every dollar you spent on doing an event. There's your ratio. It's an X factor of 7 to 1. So if an event costs you $1,000 and your average fee per file is $3,500, you need 2 orders from prospects as a result of that event, either at the event or within 2 weeks, to call that event a success. There's your answer. How's that, Lindsay? Is that okay?
That's perfect. Yeah. Oh, someone was asking, is there a virtual version of the Title Sales Mastery?
Yes, yes. If you sit in your car at the Reno location, we will have someone FaceTime you from the inside. Oh, I just made an enemy. Actually, watch for a tag. We refer to that as Title Sales Summit. We do not have one on the books right now, but that's the virtual version. But Mastery is strictly an in-person event. The experience to be in a room with 2 days with people specifically looking to build their order count, customer count, and revenue of their title agency is like at least half the magic of going to the event. So sorry. And the FaceTime thing would probably apply. We could probably work that out if somebody's on the inside.
All right, I don't see any other questions coming in now. And so I'm going to thank you so much for your time and remind everyone that we're going to be sending out an email after this. You'll get a recording, you'll get all of the links, you'll get the code, you'll get contact information for Daryl. Actually, sorry, we did just see one thing come in.
Ooh, another one. Let's do that.
Oh, actually, this is Robin, who you may know, Robin Cardella. So when agents do classes for realtors, it's so important to do the follow-up afterward, especially with when the underwriter is providing a speaker. It's really important to do that follow-up. She's just echoing.
Yes, and let me just give you a time frame on this, Robin. All event leads are dead in 2 weeks. All event leads are dead in 2 weeks. 90% of your results will come if you effectively follow up within 72 hours. So really, really good point to make there.
Yep. And someone wants to know if you offer coaching, which.
That is our company, DarrylTurnerCoaching.com, or just go to Daryl Turner. Yes, you can email me directly. I'll personally help get you set up with someone. The answer to that question is yes, that is the majority of what we do with 6,600 reps so far to date across the country and 11,000 total people. That's what we do. Great question. That's my favorite question.
That's the best one.
You know why people need a coach? Because your comfort zone will kill you, okay? That's why they need a coach. Thanks for asking that question. Tell me who it was later, Lindsay, and we'll follow up with them directly.
Okay, I'll definitely do that.
I just want to chime in that I saw Daryl's coaching have spectacular results with my clients when I was with the underwriter. And I always go back to people and let them know, listen, Michael Jordan, Tiger Woods, they all have a coach. Even though they become #1 in their game, their sport, whatever the case may be, they still all have a coach. So coaching super important.
I have 3. I own a coaching company, a national coaching company in the title industry. I have 3 coaches. Good point, B.
Yeah, you never stop learning.
No.
Okay.
Excellent.
Thank you both so much, Pete and Daryl. We really appreciate you guys both being here and sharing your insight. It's really needed right now. I know a lot of people are just kind of wondering what the rest of the year will bring, and this kind of conversation about how you're going to grow your customer base is just, couldn't be more timely, really.
Perfect.
So,
So good.
yeah, thank you both.
Thank you, Lindsay. Thank you, Daryl. That was spectacular.
Pete, Lindsay, thank you so much. And for those of you that watched us on your fancy TV screens on your desk, thanks for joining us today. And so honored to be part of your day and part of your business.
All right. Have a great rest of your day. Take
Bye,
care.
everybody.
Bye.